Hope and Homes for Children is a charity that was started by a Wiltshire couple at their kitchen table in 1994. Now it's at the forefront of a global movement to close down every single orphanage across the world and end institutionalised care.
Mark was a retired British Army officer, and he heard about a plight of children who were struggling to survive in one of Sarajevo's main orphanages. And him and Caroline realised that there was something that they wanted to do to try and help, so they actually were able to go and see what was happening. And what they came across was quite horrific, really. So this orphanage had been bombed, some of the windows had gone, there was no heating. Many of the children and babies were actually living in the basement because it was the only room that had any heat at all. So that's when Hope and Homes for Children started. So they came back here and they set up in a converted barn in East Clyffe, which is actually where we still are now, which is quite nice story there. And they were able to rally everyone together and raise enough money to go back and rebuild that orphanage. So to give those children the four walls, the roof over their head and the support that they needed. However, it wasn't until they went back and they, revisited the children and they really spoke to them. They realised quite quickly that, nicely painted walls and brand new windows wasn't ultimately what they really needed and what they wanted. And what they really needed was the love and protection of a family. They decided to completely turn the charity on its head, and instead we started closing orphanages and moving those children into family-based care. Really, we're just trying to make a global movement and to really eradicate institutional care around the world.
Now the charity is working in Central and Eastern Europe and Africa, as well as having partners in India, South America and South Africa. The majority of governments want to close down their orphanages, they just simply don't have the means or the support to do so, and that is where Hope and Homes come in. But it's a multi-billion-pound problem and requires a lot of fundraising and government support.
It might sound a bit grand, but it is what we call our theory of change. This is not about blame, and it's not about good guys and bad guys. Those days are over in terms of effective charity work. This is a global movement to bring people together and to work with governments, to work on policy, to change it, at the highest level. And that does cost because it takes experts, on the ground to do it and at different levels. So there is fundraising is key, and I'm a part of that team as well. I'm really proud of it.
The team have just returned from a trip to Rwanda, where they met a very special little girl who symbolises everything they're trying to achieve.
Uwera is a classic example of a child that we've helped from the very beginning of an incredibly traumatic experience all the way through into a home environment. She was abandoned in the countryside in the middle of nowhere with just a few cloths around her. She was discovered by a local woman, Atete, who is an incredible mother. Because she had been abandoned, the system meant that she was put straight into an incredibly nasty orphanage institution setup. Atete, being such an amazing mother and a woman that we'd worked with for a while, stayed in touch, made sure she got vaccinations, which were not standard at all, made sure she had clean bottles and milk, which again wasn't provided. We had a major problem when Uwera was moved from a small local institution, which we thought was bad enough, into one of the more central, larger ones. Atete took ages and ages and loads of effort to try and track her down. She met barriers at every side. At that point, she was also working with our social workers and going through the process of becoming a formal foster mother. And we worked with her to track down Uwera, and she was found, which was absolutely brilliant. And it was only through her love and support and the care that really only a family and a mother can give that she was brought back to life, essentially. She's now a healthy, happy young little girl that's going to nursery in the next couple of months. And when we sat and reflected on it as an experience, it's a typical one.
Around 80% of children in orphanages have a living parent or family member. So another part of Hope and Home's mission is to work with families to prevent breakdowns from occurring in the first place. This leading global movement has been achieved by a relatively small team working from a converted barn on the outskirts of Salisbury, and their work is making a massive difference around the world.
The great example that I'll give, maybe outside of Africa, is Romania. Many of us remember after Ceausescu fell, 100,000 children were found warehoused in these massive institutions. That figure in Romania, since we've started working there, is 6,000. We have seen countrywide scale, countrywide change happen. The last orphanage is going to shut in 2022. Total eradication. It is possible. We're doing it. We just got to keep doing more of it.
Now, with the help of Hope and Homes, the Ukrainian government have signed off on their orphanage closure programme, and Rwanda have committed to end all orphanages in the next few years.
We will end the orphanage system globally in our lifetime. There are 8 million children in orphanages worldwide, and we are not going to stop until we've got every last one back into a home.
Children need the love and protection of a family, something that an orphanage cannot provide. Yes, they might have 4 walls, a roof over their head and an education, but they don't have that one-on-one care, they don't have that support from an individual, and there's so many things that we so often take for granted that only the love and protection of a family can give those children.
Rhaya Barton, That's TV.